Good evening. Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Mystery Wine Blind Tasting Series. I am your host this evening, Neal, Wavra from Field and Main Restaurant. It sounded like I should be that formal. I'm not sure why. Who's with us tonight? Ooh, this one's distinctive and had an immediate impression on what I think it might be, but we'll get to that in time. Anybody joining us tonight as we're launching into another mystery wine blind tasting experience? We have some joining us. There we go. Very good. I think I was missing some comments. Pardon me on that. Robert's with us. The McCartys are with us. Kathy's with us. Kristen is here. Hi there. The Sanders are here. Great. Fantastic. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Kathy's with us. Hi. And Jan. Very cool. Yvette and David are with us. The Beckers. Hi, guys. And Kathy Fontana with Trisha, Andy, and Kathy. Yep, that's wonderful. Jan Burst was in for lunch today and now are on the chat. That's fantastic. Susan, good to see you. The Shirleys are here. Yay. Tran is with us. Awesome. Did this wine have as you're smelling this wine, which maybe I'm getting ahead of our visual evaluation, but did it evoke a specific thought right off the bat? If it did, make a note. Make a note for yourself of what you think it might have been, and we'll come back to it. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Sharon Roeder's with us this evening. Hi. Susan, hello, back to you. There's, And the Bolstats are with us, Eric and Wendy. That's awesome. And the Kestenbaums are here. Yeah, I had a fantastic time with the Kestenbaums just the other night and their executive board. And we did an event just like this for their executive board. And had a Chinon that was not quite Chinon-like. It didn't have a little bit of the pyrazine element that I was expecting, but really was a pretty wine and a fun wine to talk about and to share. And everybody had some good comments, and so it was a really fun time. So if there are those of you out there wanting to do something like this for a group of your friends or peers, I'm open to doing that. Happy to look at it. Chris is keeping us on target, though, and saying this is deep purple, and the Millettes are here, and can probably verify that purple element. So yeah, what do you see color-wise? I'm getting a little reddish rim, a ruby rim, leading into a deep purple. I agree with that 100%. And Allison's watching tonight. Hi, Allison. Thank you for joining us. Sheila is too. Purple. Purple with a ruby rim. Not much in the way of a watery quality. Well, Matt and Kathleen, I'm glad to hear that the team has enjoyed that tasting and are still talking about it. It is deep purple, it is clear. Another way to put that, as Robert points out, is that it's clear and deep, and that's perfect. Gorgeous color. I agree, Kathy. Yeah, it is pretty. It's got a shimmer to it, doesn't it? Pretty sheen. No, nothing floating in it, no faults that are visually seen. Let's look at the legs and the tears here and see, what do you see? What's happening in this wine? Is this, oh, Jan, I'm sorry you don't have the wine. Here's what it looks like. I was mentioning on this earlier chat this week with Matt and Kathleen that, Jan, you're not at a disadvantage necessarily. If you read our comments, you might actually do a better job of determining what this wine might be, because you're not biased by your sense of taste and by that tractor beam kind of thing that happens when you get stuck on a particular varietal and can't get off of it. So you can use the crowdsourcing element of taste and figure out what this wine is without even having it. Yeah, there's persistent legs, Robert, with streaks. They are, they're uniform, but they're a little bit quick, which would indicate that this wine is probably not from a very warm climate, maybe a little bit cooler. Can you see all that? Yeah, they're starting to sheet down, and as you pointed out, they're consistent or persistent, and they are they form relatively fast. There's viscosity, no doubt. So I think we're just based on an appearance, this is probably a medium weight wine, maybe a little bit more. It has a color that would indicate perhaps a more weighty wine, but we'll have to see. Yes, Yvette, this wine does have legs. And Kelly's with us tonight, and the Swanbergs are with us tonight. That's great. Okay, so from a visual standpoint, probably a thicker skinned varietal grape, one that's going to give us some of this purple color, the ruby rim, a deeper character of color and a deeper intensity of color, and it has legs that form and that are persistent, but maybe go a little bit faster than having something that with a lot of alcohol. We don't see that kind of variation on the rim that would indicate maybe higher alcohol, so we'll have to see as we taste it if that's what we pick up on. But the body profile we're kind of expecting would be medium, maybe medium plus. So we'll verify all that as we get to the actual taste. But let's go to aroma. What do you smell, folks? Fruit, earth, wood. What fruit do you smell? What earth do you smell? There is a particular smell here that I'm beginning to that I focused on right off the bat, and that is pulling me in, and I'm going to try to work with that and go beyond it. But there's reddish raspberry fruit for me, and then there's darker fruit, and there's this kind of minerally element and a floral quality. I get the blue fruit that you're talking about there too, Susan. Kathy, yes, purple flowers are the floral element. Jammy, blackberry, yep. There's for a lack of a better way of saying this, there's kind of a little bit of a foxiness to this. And there's a wood signature on this wine that's kind of like smoked meat to me. And in particular, like a smoked sausage. I use this descriptor sometimes, and it's having grown up in kind of Chicago and then also running a tiny sandwich shop here for a period of time where we cooked hot dogs in a steam setting, and so the steamy hot dog water, and it has that kind of aroma of this. There's a spiced force meat, emulsified meat that's been steamed. How about that for a specific tasting note that you're never going to see in a wine publication? Wet chalk. Cool, Robert. Thank you. And a smokiness, a slight sweet to that smoke. Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think that's a wood element. Sometimes it can be maybe a fermentation element too, but right off the bat, with me smelling that and the purplish color, I'm headed toward Petit Verdot without knowing anything about really what's there beyond what I've seen and what I've smelled. I mean, one of the varietals we should talk about, because it does offer a Petit Verdot kind of quality, a purple kind of quality, is Petit Verdot. So that's in the running for me. And that kind of foxy element is something that you find sometimes in Virginia wine. This sort of has a Virginia signature to me, but maybe not. We'll see. Maybe it's a blend. Something to think about. Anybody else have any thoughts initially that, as we're building this profile, that we should consider? What grapes, just based on the nose and the visual evaluation, what do you see? What do you smell? And where does that take you? Hey, Matthew, how are you, sir? Good evening. Thanks for your fun post the other day featuring the cabanas and the umami burger. And I don't know if everybody happened to see his post on Facebook, but he also characterized how this chat goes, which was really funny. Rick's throwing out for us too that the PV can throw some minerality. Yeah, I think so. There is sort of that minerality here. And smells very familiar to both of you. Yep. Besides Petit Verdot, what about Norton? Kathy's asking. And yeah, Norton can actually absolutely provide some of that blue fruits and that jammy fruit. Chris Shirley's thrown out Malbec and Central Coast wines from California. Cabernet Franc, perhaps, from Robert is pointing out. Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. As I was first putting my nose in the glass just before I clicked go on the chat tonight. I was thinking Bordeaux varietals. So let's taste this and see. Does it have a medium weight? Is the alcohol medium? Where is the acidity? Where is the tannin? Where is the fruit? Is it jammy like we're smelling? Does the fruit go red to black and beyond? What do you taste and what can you verify? Okay, it's a dry wine. Remember we had, hey Isabel, welcome back, or welcome, sorry. Sorry you had tech issues, but we're glad you're with us this evening. Rick's noting that he thought Norton too, based on our discussion right thus far, which is really cool, so Norton's something to consider. Maybe Norton. This is a dry wine, and determining dryness is at the finish mostly of any wine. And Yvette's pointing out that it's tart. It's got good acidity. Swanbergs are saying not Petit Verdot. Chalky elements. It's crazy dry, Brenda's throwing out there. Yeah, the tannins are pronounced. They are definitely present here. Kristen's noting the same thing, and it's been decanted for her for over 30 minutes. Medium acid, Susan's throwing out there, medium plus tannin, medium alcohol. It's too tannic for Norton, and I agree. Kathy, 100%. It's not Norton, although it has some elements in the nose of Norton. But I would say, yes, it's save for one Norton that I've had, the Chrysalis kind of Loxley Reserve that has tannin, but not like this. I don't see this being Norton. But that's throwing out that it has a sort of a grape-flavored Sour Patch Kid. So a sour grape flavor, almost artificial grape flavor. So that jammy element is turning into a candied quality of fruit flavor. And Debbie Cloud's watching. Hi, Debbie. Susan, I agree. I think the tannins are medium plus, maybe headed into high territory. The acidity in concert with that tannin is medium plus. And then the body weight beyond the tannin is definitely medium. The alcohol doesn't seem to be too hot. It seems to be kind of in check with a wine like this. So maybe a medium moderate kind of alcohol. 13.5, maybe 13.5 or 14, something in that range. So Malbec was thrown out. We were talking a little bit about Petit Verdot. Could we talk about, say, Tannat? Could we talk about what other varietals, guys, should we be considering? And Rick, you say PV with some age. How come you think age? Terry's saying that she picks up some plum, which is leading her down the Petit Verdot path. And plum is a good call for that. Also an indicator usually for some Merlot. So maybe we're talking about a blend. Petit Verdot, when it's a single varietal for me, I think of it kind of like a blunt instrument, like a club. It is uniform, powerful, impactful, but not nuanced or not necessarily giving you a lot of dimension. It's just, it is what it is. It's got power. That has started to change, and especially in Virginia and some of the producers that have older Petit Verdot to play with and are figuring out how to make that grape more nuanced. And the Swanberg, Jeff and or Adrian is saying that Cabernet Sauvignon could be a possibility here with the New World. That's possible. The structure certainly is there for that. That blue fruit element is what's kind of hanging me up. I don't pick that up usually. Anybody getting anything pyrazine, kind of from green bell pepper to jalapeno to a grassiness, something that would indicate sort of a Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc quality here, or are we past that and into something else? Susan's definitely thinking New World too. 715, starting to add a little of that dimension. I think also too that the tannins have bonded enough to most of my mouth that the second, third, fourth, fifth sip seem to give me more of the actual wine's dimension. Thank you, Kathy, on the note there that you don't pick up pyrazine. I'm not either. And with the floral element, Rick's noting that there's a potential for Tanat here. Chris is saying no pyrazine either. That blue, black fruit, and even some of that red fruit that's here, the raspberry in the nose, moving into that blue and black fruit. I get more of the blue and black fruit on the palate than I do the red fruit, but there's a tartness, as was discussed with respect to the idea of kind of a sweet tart, candied quality to it. Sharon's asking, she doesn't have the wine, but she's reading the tea leaves here and thinking, should we consider Chambourcin? I don't think so because of the tannin. If this were Chambourcin with that much tannin, that would be pretty remarkable. It has a lot of Chambourcin qualities to it by way of the fruit, maybe verging out of Chambourcin from the red into the black and blue, and that's kind of what leads me back to sort of Petit Verdot. I could be wrong about the Petit Verdot, but it's a varietal that keeps sticking with me. The wine is showcasing a little bit of black pepper too that Susan's noting. And I think you could be talking about Malbec, yes. And Grenache, I always think about Grenache from more a New World sighting when I get a little bit of that blue fruit. But Malbec is something that we should definitely think about from a blue fruit standpoint. What about like Zinfandel? I think Malbec's a good call. I think you could make a real good argument for Malbec. Something like Bonardo we talked about before and tasted. Carmenere would give us a little bit more pyrazine, so I think we can rule out, say, Carmenere. But Grenache is oftentimes blended. So let's talk about Grenache. Do we pick up other elements here that would make this sort of a quartet or a trio of instruments playing, or is this a solo instrument? Chris is pointing out that we've got a little bit too much tannin for Zinfandel, and I think you're probably right on that, sir. So what about something like Petit Syrah or Malbec is a good call. Swanbergs are throwing that out there too. So with Malbec, are we thinking of Argentina? I think that's probably the surest bet. So it's interesting if we're talking about Malbec from Argentina and say Petit Verdot from Virginia. We could be talking about Petit Verdot from someplace else. Isabel's also throwing out Primitivo, which would be kind of cool. Yeah, we could have, there's a little bit of rusticity here, and there is that high acid element to this that we always seem to find in Italy. Any earthy notes? Susan's asking a great question in the context of kind of maybe a Malbec Cab Sauv blend. So let's go back to the blend question. Single varietal or blend? Where do you put yourself? Where do you taste? If this is a single, I mean, this is a blend, it's, I think, a small blend. You know, I think it's probably varietally labeled wine. So generally speaking, something that has 75+% of one varietal and then may have some other varietals to it. Susan, what do you think? Why do you think blend? Kathy and at least one other like the idea of Petite Syrah. Petite Syrah has a really aggressive kind of tannin power, and I think that's kind of neat. Blue fruit element. Isabel's also in on that idea. That would be a potential here. And Petite Syrah sometimes is blended. Maybe a little bit of Cabernet, maybe it's got a little bit of Petit Verdot, maybe it has some other Bordeaux varietals to it. The tannins for me seem so complete, so uniform, that I would have a hard time, I'm having a hard time conceiving of how those tannins would be derived from a series of different grapes and be that kind of complete. But as Susan's pointing out, like the divergent fruit character from blue to red to black would indicate a potential kind of varietal mix and a blend. She's agreeing though with the idea that maybe there's just a little bit of a blend, more of a principal varietal with a supporting cast, and I think that's probably something I can certainly get around. Touriga Nacional, Kathy's starting out there. Blue fruit, violet, wet slate. We picked up a lot of those notes before. Yep. But Kathy, all right. So Touriga Nacional, do you think this is Old World? And Jan's picking up kind of a mud aroma. Yeah, like there's an earthiness that's starting to come about. And Isabel, you're 100% right. It is hard to commit before the 7:30 turnaround, and we are approaching that. It's about 7:22. Sometimes that 7:30 turnaround happens around 7:22, 7:24, about 24, 25, 26 minutes in, and we're starting to get there. And an earthy element is emerging. That blue fruit is there, but I'm getting kind of that mud is a great descriptor. It's wet dirt, wet earth. There's almost a little bit of a poopy diaper there, a hint of that too. Yeah, Kathy, I agree. That's why I want to push the question about the old world, new world. This doesn't jive with the kind of the idea of the old world, other than we were talking about a high acidity, which we often find in the old world. So would we be getting, let's say, Malbec from Argentina? Would we be getting this level of tannin, potentially, this fruit character, potentially, and that acidity? We'd have to be kind of more high elevation, which would be kind of neat. And Jan, yeah, the wine is still for sale. We have at least, I think I saw 6 or 8 bottles downstairs when I came up for the chat this evening. So earthiness is coming out. Could this be Touriga Nacional from somewhere else? Maybe. But I just don't know enough. I haven't tried enough to venture that guess. Nicole, Argentina, yeah. I mean, I think you have to think about this being from Argentina, being a Malbec. I think, Jan, we had kind of touched on Zin, thinking maybe this was too tannic for Zinfandel. And I think there's a chance that this might still be sort of like 2017 Petit Verdot from Virginia. There's power here. I don't know if we can pull 2017 Petit Verdot for the $25 price point, but that is an idea. And I agree, Rick, you're not going to get Touriga this ripe necessarily in Virginia, and that'd be a weird kind of wine to call in this context. I think you'd go elsewhere. Anybody have? Oh, Swanbergs are saying Zino Mavro. Tony could be throwing us off. That's super cool. To be honest, I think I maybe have tried one Xeno Mavro in my career, and so that's awesome. Tell us more about Xeno Mavro. That would be super neat. Xeno Mavro being a varietal in Greece. So ripeness, tannin, there is an austere quality about this wine, isn't there? Even as Kristen's noting that it's softening up a bit, it's still prominently tannic. And Chris is definitely always playing the game and noting that we did just recently do Argentina, and I think that's pretty cool. Jeff's saying that tannins and acidity are something you would expect from a Xeno Mavro. That's awesome. I mean, if this is Xeno Mavro, you guys get pushed to the head of class. Kathy's revisiting Malbec. There is sort of like in trying, and it's interesting you talk about Greece, like think about some of the wines you get to try from Greece. We had an Assertico once, remember, and it just had that just windswept, powerful, self-assertive acidity and structure to the wine. The fruit was kind of there, but it was all running behind this self-determination of having to figure out how to survive on an island. And there's sort of that tension in this. That's pretty cool. I could take a flyer and guess that with you, but I wouldn't know that, and I couldn't lead you there with any real authority. So that would be neat if that was the case, but that's kind of what I'm wrestling with, right? So Petit Verdot has the color, has the structure, some of the aroma is the same, but I'm not sure that this is like Virginia Petit Verdot. Even 17, I don't think this would be 19, but I could be wrong. Rick's saying, take me to Cahors and drink some Malbec from France, and that's a great idea. That certainly could be something we're talking about. And I agree, Elizabeth and Kathy, that Assertico was delicious. Assertico is delicious, period. But there's just this like tension. There is that tension too in Cahors. We definitely find that kind of really dominant tannin quality from the Malbec from Cahors. But I think we just did that too, didn't we? It's still like super powerful tannin. Rick's going to Cahors, Kathy's going to Argentina for Malbec. Swanbergs are thrown out. Grecian red. This is neat. What else? Should we? The Swanbergs are saying they had some Petit Verdot earlier from Pearmond, and this is not it. That's fair. I think the tannins are a bit too structured, a bit too drying. Thank you, Kathy. That's where I had Cahors. We had it with the Walsh tasting, so it's all blending together. But there is elements of the Cahors element here with respect to that tannin. That's pretty cool. So back to the idea of Malbec, that blue element, and finding it in Malbec and finding it in Cahors, finding this structured, powerful tannin. Wow. Yeah. The Millettes are saying Argentinian Malbec blend. I'm assuming, Kathy, you were with a kind of a Malbec from Argentina as well, as you said you're going to there. Rick was throwing out Cahors and Malbec from France. I like that call. Swanberg's on Xeno Mavro. Anybody else want to either jump into one of those camps or offer anything different? I don't think we're in a bad way with any of those particular ideas or final conclusions. I think we're looking at a medium plus bodied alcohol wine with medium plus venturing into high tannin, medium plus acidity, which would all indicate kind of either high elevation or a cooler element. And you could get that certainly in Argentina on a higher plateau, but You get that from the island of Greece. You get that for sure from the tannins in Cahors. This is neat. Shirley's are saying Argentinian Malbec with a little bit of Merlot and Cabernet, maybe blended in. That's cool. All right, I think I'm gonna go. The tannins are just that kind of aggressive tannin, and I don't know Zinamavra enough to know whether that's it. But I'm gonna venture a Cahors guess too. I like Rick's idea there, and I'm gonna say probably 2017. So if you think about just general classifications, 1 to 3, 1 to 3 years, 2 to 3 years, being kind of young, and then you've got 4 or 5 year, and sort of 6 plus being just our general categories. That's kind of, I think this is a youthful wine. It's in its early stages. And so I'm gonna go with the Cahors element 2017. The Swanbergs are gonna throw Argentinian Cab also out, which I think, to having that sort of Argentinian Malbec with Cab and Merlot blended in, or some element of that, is a viable option. And I think you get all the points for venturing any of those guesses. It's in a Bordeaux bottle, which all of what we're talking about would be probably as well. Violets are really prominent for Kathy. Does that take you then to Malbec, Kathy? Sharon Burke-Wood is with us, and Marianne is watching. We're just getting to the reveal point. If you're just joining us, we're tasting this red that is more purple with a little ruby color on the rim. It has a moderate alcohol, medium plus, almost high tannin. It has some good acidity to it. Blue fruit, black fruit, even a little touch of red fruit. Some earth elements now coming out in the way of sort of a wet mud. A woody element in the way of some smoky meats. Pretty interesting wine. Cool. All right, I'm sticking with Cahors. Nope, I'm wrong. It's the Valle de Uco Malbec from Argentina, 2016. It's got a little bit of age, and it is 60% aged in French oak barrels, 11 months. Valle de Uco is a little bit cooler, and is a wine that, or a place that gives you a little bit of that freshness and a lot of structure. This is made by Cuvelier Los Andes, which is part of the Cuvelier family, who owns Chateau Léoville-Poifer and Chateau Le Cruc in Bordeaux. So they're very much a Bordeaux house, treating the Malbec like Bordeaux in Argentina. So this is cool. This has got some structure to it and some aging potential. At 2016, this is still very much a baby. So I kind of put it outside the window of a very young wine, 1 to 3 years. It's sort of in that moderate age, and yet it presents very youthful. So a different expression fully of Malbec, but some of the character of the wine certainly coming out. And yes, I agree, Kathy, that the group is the one that kind of takes us to this particular place. We're doing a great job as a whole, even though I'm not getting the wine right, that doesn't matter. That together we're kind of puzzling this wine out, and we have this hive mentality now and this hive palate, which is really cool. I think we could go up against pretty much a good cross-section of a blind tasting professional series and do pretty well. We're doing great thus far and picking out what you find in this bottle and others. So I want to thank you all for that continued support and for doing these chats with us each week. Awesome. It's just been a really great part of this year. It's been a real highlight for me to spend each Thursday night with you guys. I look forward to it. I get to chat with guests throughout the week about it, and folks who come in and do this venture to pick up wines and then come back on Thursday nights to join in. And I was talking with a person who's writing an article about us for a local publication, and she was asking how we were building community in the time of COVID. And I mentioned this chat, and I said beyond the excitement of kind of sharing food and wine, particularly in this case, wine with people, because I don't get as much opportunity to do that as I used to, is the idea that this chat, you folks know each other now, and you're saying hello to each other. I've seen you comment on each other's posts on Facebook. You're developing a really great rapport with each other, and that's unbelievably gratifying. It's a gift, and this season that's dedicated to gifts, I feel like I'm receiving one each Thursday night when I get to witness all of you come together, and we get to work together to do something fun to enhance our appreciation of a wine and thus our enjoyment of wines. And I'm delighted to hear that you enjoy it and learn something from it. And I couldn't be more delighted as we finish out kind of 2020 to say thank you to you and to express my gratitude for what we will hopefully continue in the new year. We have every plan to. So we will not be tasting next week or the following week because of the way the holidays fall, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So I wish you and your families and friends the best possible holiday season. And we'll reconvene in the first week of January to taste again. We will be open throughout. We'll close on Christmas Day, but our normal schedule otherwise there. If you have any questions, by all means, just check out the website or shoot us a note. And thank you. This is tremendous. We will continue in the new year. Cheers, everyone.